Trust is the cornerstone of blockchain and central to the very nature of commerce. Here to explain the areas every blockchain project must address to create fully decentralized trust, please welcome Senior Director of Blockchain Technologies at VMware, Michael DiPetrillo.
All right, what a treat. You get 2 mics in a row. So this should be thoroughly confusing. I was told there's an agenda change. I get you now for 4 hours instead of just 20 minutes to bore you to tears. No, that's actually just 25 minutes. So stay put. I know the weather's great outside. Today I'm going to talk to you about trust. For me, it's all about trust. But before we start talking about trust, I want to talk about something else. Blockchain. Who in here has heard this word? Everybody, right? But when you hear this word, what comes to mind? You could start thinking blockchain, crypto, right? We heard about Mike. We heard a lot about crypto. You could be like me, have a little 7-year-old running around at home. So blockchain looks a little different for you, right? Who has the little Lego chains at home? Blockchain could be stuff you see in trade rags. Pinned only, immutable. It's going to change the world. It's going to change the world. It's amazing. But blockchain for me is all about trust. Now, I'm only so good about explaining things today, so I've enlisted a little bit of help in this particular presentation from someone who's really great at explaining technical items. So we're going to use Dilbert throughout our time today to talk about trust. Well, what does Dilbert have to say about trust? I think he breaks it down probably the best of anybody that's out there. For me, trust starts at home. On the side, I actually happen to be a pilot, right? You really have to trust the aircraft, you have to trust air traffic control, you have to trust a lot of things when you're flying an airplane along. And you do this because you're sticking your family in that airplane, and you love your family. This happens to be my beautiful wife sitting in the plane next to me. But trust could come in different things. Trust could come from activities that you have. This is not me, by the way, there's no way in hell I'd do that. But trust could really come in play in activities that you have. Trust could come in from jobs that you've had in the past. I really feel sorry for this dog, and I really feel sorry for the people that are standing down below that get all the dog crap from this guy jumping out of the plane. Trust could come in activities that you participate in, right? You ever do that trust fall? Trust, for most people, comes in the relationships that they build, whether they're with their friends, their family, their loved ones. That's where most of us experience trust. So today, again, it's going to be about one word, trust, and how this relates to blockchain. Well, I just lied, because it's not about one word. It's about 2 words. Decentralized trust is how we're going to relate this back down to blockchain, because that's what it's all about, and that's what you need to be thinking about. So going back to my good friend Dilbert, he has an answer for everything. What is decentralized trust? People always ask me that. So my good friend Dilbert here says, trust? Oh, I don't know what it is. Decentralized trust is very easy, though. If you think about this in the context of a database is a centralized trust authority. Everybody's using databases today, right? But even if multiple companies work with that database, it's still one person that's involved with backing that thing up, making sure that the data is accurate, making sure that the audits happen on that database. There's one entity that's involved for that. In blockchain land, it's about decentralized trust. It's about no one entity owning that one thing. Everybody operating on the same plane of data, making sure that everybody's not manipulating that data, and that everybody has a good copy of that data. And what this does is it speeds up the flow of information. So we're going to start with decentralized trust. When you're deploying blockchain out there, the single biggest thing you can have a fault with, especially when you're looking at deploying it in the enterprise, is deploying it in a centralized manner. So you want to deploy these nodes in as many different places as you can. We have over 4,000 cloud partners, so it's really great to deploy these nodes in as many places as you can. When you look at kind of some of the public chains that are out there, there's a great website, Are We Decentralized Yet? Well, no, not really. You know, most of these nodes actually happen to be in the same place or controlled by the same entity. Again, it's about decentralized trust, so you want to spread these things as many different places as you can. If you fail to do this, you end up at risk for a 51% attack, right? So again, decentralized trust, decentralized nodes. The second thing you want to build trust inside of this, is where are the keys inside of your system? I was just talking with Roz from Unbound yesterday, and he said, well, what do you do for key management? I said, well, it'd be great if we could use SMPC for key management and have multiple people owning parts of this key and allowing people into the network that way. Key management is really, really, really critical, right? And you've seen this over and over again. A lot of the attacks that happen in kind of cryptocurrency land are from bad key management, generally related to this. But bad key management can come in two flavors, not only losing your keys, but perhaps losing the person that had your keys, right? This was fatal flaw number one, right? Don't write down your password, that's fine, but at least let someone else know where the password is just in case. But key management is a big thing when you think about trust in a blockchain system, and it's the number one flaw that we see in deployments. Trusting the code is also important. Blockchains, when we started, weren't really used from a programmatic standpoint. It wasn't used for code. Enter Ethereum, and it completely changed everything at that point in time. We went from blockchain, blockchain, blockchain to smart contract, smart contract, smart contract, as Dilbert says, right? So trusting the code is critical. Trusting the language that you're writing in is critical. Some of these languages are new. Some of these languages, are developing still. We as an industry are trying to push them forward. If you don't trust that code and you fail to provide safety nets inside of your code, you end up with problems again in blockchain land. And it's again, you need that trust. You need to look at this stuff. So if you implement everything that way, how do you know you have trust in the system? How do you audit this system? We go to customers today, and they've implemented blockchain, and it's great, and it's working. We even have it between multiple companies. We've distributed our keys correctly. We have our nodes in many different places. We go to audit the system. Deloitte goes in there, and then they ring up and they say, hey, we're going to audit your system over there. Well, no, PwC is our auditor. KPMG happens to be the other auditor. We're all audited by different people. How do we audit a blockchain when it's decentralized information? We're used to centralized audits. So audits need to change. This is something that's really hard once you get into production. People don't think about it until it gets too late. The other thing people don't think about when they start going into a production environment in blockchain is, how do we operate this in an enterprise IT setting? How do we trust that we're operating this thing correctly? This is something completely new, operating in a decentralized state. Not a distributed state, but a decentralized state. Again, Dilbert's already picked up on this, right? How do we operate and provide the tooling mechanisms? How do we adhere to GDPR in an append-only immutable log? How do we deal with data sovereignty issues, right, when we're distributing to every single node, which could be outside of that country? Some of these things we don't worry about too much here in the States, but they worry about in other parts of the world. So how do we trust? How do we operate this thing at scale? How do we audit it? And these are things you really need to think about as you're starting to deploy blockchain out there. You really need to worry about privacy. The biggest thing that we're doing, and a lot of other people are doing, is privacy. There's a lot of talk. I had a ton of meetings yesterday, and it was all about privacy-centralated stuff. The two big movements in blockchain on the privacy front, the first one is SMPC, Secure Multi-Party Computation. What better way to provide for trust inside of a system in a decentralized state than to have multiple people owning pieces of that data and agreeing when to use that data and how to use that data together. So it's that decentralized trust extends not only to the data, but the use of that data and when and how you use that data. A lot of work being done in the SMPC land when it relates to blockchain. The other big movement in here is zero-knowledge proofs. Even better than agreeing to use that data is, hey, the data's not even there. You can't do anything with it if you wanted to, right? All you have is mathematical attestations that say, here's what the representation is. These are the two biggest advancements I think you'll see on the privacy front coming to blockchain over the next year, is SMPC work and zero-knowledge proof work. Now, I know some of them are in the room and smiling at all this that's going on. So when you take all this and you put it together in an enterprise setting and you deploy this in an enterprise production setting, what does this do? What does decentralized trust get you, right? What is the art of the possible in an enterprise IT setting? One of the companies that we're working with is actually in Europe, and again, I'm a pilot, so this one's really interesting to me from a use case perspective. They're talking about air traffic control. Now, when you're in an air traffic control setting, you get passed from sector to sector to sector, right? Different air traffic controllers pass you along. And they do this with a little paper strip, has your little N number on there, where you're going, and your potential routing. And no one knows until you appear on their radar scope where you happen to be going. And then they get the little piece of paper and say, oh, you're going up here, so I'm going to route you up here. This is very problematic, especially when you're taking off and you're landing. That's where most of the crashes occur, right? Because you're near other people and the ground and other objects. But you're not operating on the same plane of data. If you decentralize that and make it so that everybody has that same copy of the data at the same time, you can provide efficiencies. You can provide efficiencies in routing. You can provide efficiencies in conflict management. You can provide efficiencies in movement so you don't have delays over and over and over again. And as you start to improve these efficiencies and get everybody on that same plane of data in a decentralized trust state, you improve stuff. You reduce risk. You reduce complications, you improve information flow, you improve speed through the network. So it's estimated that we can reduce delays by 50% putting in blockchain and getting to this decentralized trust state. You know, they've been working on it for years and years and years. Another thing that you can do when you get to a decentralized trust state is you can do stuff like what ASX is doing with their chess replacement. This has been in the news for a long, long, long time, right? The Australian Stock Exchange, what they're doing. And when you get to a decentralized trust state, in this particular case, you allow market participants to participate in line and not only send trades in and net those trades out, but they can see records. They can see that blueprint. They can see that they were in the right order. They can trust that you did the right thing. Auditors can participate in line, and so they don't have to shut things down and wait for stuff. You can move this from going from a T2 to possibly a same time trade reconciliation, right? This improves capital, it frees up capital. So a decentralized trust state, again, improves everything from a dramatic standpoint. And this is why they went down using blockchain for their chess replacement. So I'd be remiss if I was up here as a sponsor, right? And didn't put up the proverbial marketing slide. So yes, VMware is building something in the blockchain space. We're not just the people sitting outside in the Airstream trailer, which is pretty cool. Come visit us, by the way. We are building a blockchain. There's three things we're doing with this blockchain. One is we've rooted it in decentralized trust, enterprise-grade decentralized trust. We built a new consensus protocol. It's a Byzantine fault-tolerant consensus protocol, so you get a voting-based mechanism instead of a mining-based system. A lot less CPU utilization, energy cost, no time to finality worries, no forking about the blockchain or anything like that. And on top of this, we put an abstraction layer for different execution frameworks, or languages, if you will. The first one we implemented was the Ethereum virtual machine. So it looks, smells, feels, tastes like Ethereum from a programmatic standpoint, but underneath it's VMware blockchain running all this stuff. So you get high scalability, enterprise-grade trust, high auditability, dealing with stuff like GDPR and data sovereignty issues and everything like that. So you get a great platform. The second language we implemented, which we announced a couple weeks ago, was digital assets DAML language. The third one, which hasn't been announced yet, but it's in alpha, and hey, I own this product, so I can talk about it. So we have support for running Hyperledger smart contracts on top of the platform. So now you get your choice of language on one platform that can be audited, that can run in an enterprise IT setting. We only spend about 10% of our time on that, though. The other 90% of our time we spend on this second bullet, robust day two operations, really figuring out how to operate this thing in an enterprise IT setting at scale. For 20 years, that's all VMware has done, is worked on large, complex distributed systems, managing it in an enterprise setting and running it in that setting. So it's near and dear to our heart. So if you have to deal with GDPR, if you have to deal with data sovereignty issues, if you have to deal with distributed key management or decentralized key management, these are all the things we worry about and put into place on a daily basis and get our engineering team working on a daily basis. And then the third bullet, I already mentioned, right? It's being developer friendly, allowing developers to choose the language that they like to write in, to choose the method that they like to write in, and be able to run it all on top of that platform. So those three things come together as something called Project Concord. It's actually all open source, Apache 2 licensed, free and available out there to use and consume and modify and participate in. We do wrap some enterprise management security tools around it and deployment tools around it, and that becomes a commercial offering called VMware blockchain. Took 6 months of naming committee held to come up with that. So very descriptive, VMware blockchain, very easy to find, vmware.com/blockchain. But past the marketing slide now, I want to wrap this thing up talking again about trust. A little clicker may work sometimes. About trust. Remember when you go and implement this, it's about decentralized trust. Deploy those nodes in as many different places as you possibly can. In the cloud, multiple clouds, on-prem. Decentralized trust, and managed by as many different people as you can. Trust the code. Think about key management. Think about auditing this when you're going to have to audit it. Think about operating this in your enterprise IT tools. How are they actually going to operate this? That will make your blockchain project successful. That will make blockchain successful. And if we do that, then the whole industry wins and we move everything forward. So I wanted to keep it short, sweet, to the point today so you can get out and enjoy the good weather. We do have a booth back here. It's right on the other side of the green thing. And again, that Airstream trailer that's out there, the cool little silver box, come visit us out there. Got drinks and everything for everybody. And thank you so much for your time today. I really, really appreciate it.